Welcome to Rock and Roll Fridays, a podcast on musical encounters
Welcome to Rock
and
and Roll
life.
Fridays, and I'm so happy to have a guest, Lori from Drifter Merch. Is that the proper name?
That's correct.
Drifter Merch from South Carolina, right? You're picking up on my Jersey accent. So talk to me about Drifter Merch. Somehow, some way I found you, and I'm wearing the Drifter Merch t-shirt that you provided, and I will share all links to make sure people find out about Drifter Merch. But awesome gear, awesome stuff. Tell me about it. How did this start, and what are you up to today?
Well, it happened by chance, sort of. I was cleaning my then boyfriend's drawers out, and they weren't closing because he had so many T-shirts. And I kept looking at them, and I was like, "This one's cool," and he's like, "Oh, I made that one. This one's cool." And basically, he said, "I have a buddy who's a printer, and I, always do a couple shirts and do a run for my friends for different shows." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's so cool." And at the time, I'd owned a marketing company for 15 years, and I was like, "Well, you should start a website."
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. My mind started racing and all this kind of stuff. And so it was just kind of something we did on the side for fun. And we started out with 3 designs and now probably have over 60. And it's just been fun. I did obviously the business end of it and the marketing and promotion of it, whereas my later became husband did all the designing and did the production end of it with his buddy who owned the print shop, and kind of worked on it together that way.
Awesome. We've all been to shows, right? The music scene. Like, what is it about? What makes a great merchandise? What makes a great t-shirt? What do you find in your experience that people gravitate to?
Well, I mean, I can't say I make the best t-shirts. I just make a certain type of t-shirts. And my husband, um, who has since passed, he always came up with the ideas. He was the creative. I mean, I've gone to shows as long as he have. I mean, that was how we connected. Was like, oh, I was at that show. I was at that show,
Yeah.
and we love to go see music and everything. And um, he always came up with the ideas. I mean, he knew all the bands. He didn't just know one band. Like my band's Panic. I go see Panic all the
Yep.
time. I'm not
Yep.
lying when I'm in over 350 shows.
Yeah.
And I've been to the Dead and Company. I saw Jerry. I mean, we go to Fish. I mean, his big band was Government Mule that he loved.
Yep.
And so, there's all these different bands out there, and we've never tried to pigeonhole ourselves into one genre. And we actually started the company out when we were living in Jackson Hole. And it was a little slower going. And when we moved back to Charleston, there was just like more opportunity. And so we started setting up at little events around town,
Right.
vending opportunities. And people were like, "Whoa, I love your stuff. It was cool." And
Yep.
we were like, "People like this. This is cool." Because,
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
you have an online store, it takes a while to get some traction in it. And, you're getting a couple orders a day and you're like, "Okay, this is great." And then you don't get any orders for several days. And you're like, "What happened? Is my website working?" And it's just constant promotion and everything. But when you get out into the, um, you know, in front of the people and they compliment your designs and they see it in person, it's really a different experience. I mean, for the longest time, we would go to shows and we would have a car full of merch, but we'd end up wanting to hang out with our friends and, go to dinner or go have drinks and never pull it out. And then one time when I was 9 months pregnant, we were in St. Augustine, Florida, and they have the best amphitheater for vending because everyone kind of has to walk through the shakedown lot to get in
Yep.
and go to the box office or to the entrance. And we made so much money that first day that we were like, "Oh my gosh, we have a captive audience." Like we really never like skipped a lot to go to dinner or anything. It was just a great thing. I mean, I'll tell you how it's kind of progressed in that I just did a 3-night Panic run last weekend, and literally I've ended before the show, after the show, and I did 2 events during the day. Um, One on Friday from 2 to 5, and then one on Saturday from 2 to 6. And actually, my boyfriend did a separate event because there were 2 events on Saturday. We split up, and he did another
Wow.
event.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just the reason is people are like, "How do y'all do that when you're going to shows and everything?" And it's just fun and it's adrenaline, and people are so excited about what we're doing, that it makes it all worthwhile. And we actually do very well.
It's amazing. It's and the quality and I mean, you mentioned design, right? Like, I see the posters behind you in my poster room, right? It's art, right? Like I always say, like, these the band logos and the merchandise and it's all art. And people, I think, in the music scene, um want to have something different, want to have something cool always. And I'm always amazed when I'm at shows and I walk around, I see something unique and different that someone has on. And it just it's cool that you just see all these cool people trying to showcase what they have going on creatively.
Absolutely. I mean, we've met so many different people that do so many different things. I mean, the only way you were asking kind of what makes it work is, as far as selling is, one thing that we do is we use premium brands. And so a lot of times when we're in the lot, people are like, oh, you have the good shirts. And it's just, we think that that made the difference. And we kind of like the vintage look and use kind of heathered colors. He just had an eye for color and design. I've been trying to keep up pretty well, but I've got a couple designers that help me, and usually when I have an idea, they kind of help me put it in fruition. Like I just came up with this design for Billy Strings, and I'm really proud of it because it is a mashup between a Krispy Kreme logo and their Turmoil and Tinfoil song or out, yeah, and it turned out really well, and it was so well received. Like I wasn't even sure how many I was going to order, so did a pre-order, which I never do pre-orders, and I ended up ordering triple of what I planned to order.
Yep.
But it was so well received. And I'm doing 7 Billy shows coming up, and I'm like, wow, I just got them yesterday, and I'm like, I probably need to go ahead and order for the next
Right,
run.
right. I mean, that's amazing. That's awesome. So
Yeah.
we were talking earlier off the podcast. What is it about music, right? Like, your career is very similar to mine in marketing and advertising and your background. But what is, I was asked, what is it about music that gets you going to these shows and doing what you do?
Well, I just think that the music connects people, and whether that you like same genre or don't like the same genre, whether it's you're into country or jam bands, I mean, whatever. I mean, people can relate to like it's you start moving, you start feeling good, and it's, you just get that energy from it that I think everyone can recognize and enjoy. I
Yeah,
mean, for me, I love the music, but half of my enjoyment is all the people I run into and that I've met over the years. And it's fun seeing friends that, are from all over the country, and getting to hang out. Like
yeah,
it's the whole experience.
yeah.
I've
That's
got a lot of friends who aren't really into the going to so many concerts as I do. They're, might say it's, I guess, see what y'all like. It's kind of like going to a football game and tailgating. I mean, you go, you hang out beforehand, and then you go to the games, but y'all go to a show. So it's just kind of. But music, I feel like, is a little bit different in that everyone enjoys music in some way or form.
yeah. And speaking of music, let's talk about Drifter Fest and
Okay.
and how that came about. And I know Drifter Fest is coming up in late March, I believe, correct?
Yes, it's going to be on March 31st and April 1st in Charleston. It's our third annual, and it is actually a tribute. It's the Drifter Fest is the Burt Griggs Memorial Jam, which was my late husband, and really it came to my idea when he passed away around Christmas time, and it was devastating, as you can imagine, and so hard to deal with. And a lot of people couldn't come and to the funeral because it was over the holidays, and we always were saying we'll have a celebration of life or something. And I just kept thinking, like, what could I do? And
Mhm.
I wanted to do something where his memory would stay alive. And when I moved to Charleston, some friends did a fundraiser every year that I was involved with in the beginning, doing PR for. And it was for their friend that had passed away, and they had it every year. And I didn't know who she was, but I felt like by going to her festival, by learning about her through her friends, her memory stayed alive, and that's kind of what I wanted for him. And
Yeah.
even like now that it's coming around again, everybody's talking about him again and remembering him and talking about how great of a guy he was. And beyond designing awesome t-shirts and stuff, he was just this charismatic guy that he walked into a room that everyone really adored, and he could relate with most any type of person. And he was just kind of loving and caring and genuinely interested in people. And you know, if you ever had seen any of his tributes when he passed away, that was the, you know, resounding thing that was said. You know, he had a heart of gold, he was there for you, all that kind of stuff. So back to the festival was, so I started thinking this idea, and the first year we did it as a smaller event, but we have so many friends in bands that 4 bands, I got 4 bands together at the Poorhouse here in Charleston, which is our big music venue. We did a little private event for 2 hours with a band before for close friends and family, and then opened it up to the public, and 3 bands played till 2 o'clock in the morning. And it was just awesome music, exactly what he would have loved.
Right.
And gave everybody a chance to heal, because it was real. I planned it 3 months after he died, and it kind of all came together. And then COVID hit literally the week after this festival, and people were like, "That was the last thing I went to before COVID."
Yeah.
You know. And then we ended up having one more after COVID, and we have the one coming up, and we're so excited to have on Friday night. We have Tishomingo playing, which is a Southern rock band that honestly has not played together in a long time, because their guitarist had been touring with national country artist Brantley Gilbert. So this is kind of a big treat that a lot of people are so excited to see Tishomingo again, because it's been a while. And supporting them is a local band called Broken Speakers, and it's compiled of a bunch of my favorite. Got everyone in Charleston that's in a band is in 5 bands.
Right.
So a bunch of guys that I see in their other bands, and they put together this new band, and they have a new album coming out. We just saw them recently, and they're really good. And then Saturday night we have legendary bassist George Porter playing with his running part lineup. And you know, he's from the Meters, and his resume speaks for itself, and people are really excited about him playing. And then opening for them is Gavin Hamilton and Friends, which is another kind of local funk band, and includes Wallen Mullinax, who is one of Bert's friends, actually, that he grew up with. He used to play his Pond House parties.
Wow.
which is really cool. So it all ties back. And then we have a buddy of ours, Robert Corbett, who does a Just Groove 1-man band that is serving as the in between all the acts. And he just does kind of funky.
And you know, like, it's going to grow each year, and it's going to grow each year. And talking about connection, what a great way to honor him and bring people together to connect over music and fun and being together. That's amazing.
Absolutely. And we have it at this new amphitheater downtown that is like the hot new amphitheater. We had it there last year, but it wasn't open. They just let us have it there. But now it's all fully operational, and it's just going to be a really good time.
Awesome. So I'm sure you know, with the amount of shows you go to, and obviously my podcast is about musical encounters, I'm sure you've had a few. Is there a story you can tell us that you were like, wow, I can't believe this one's happening?
Well, I mean, I have a few. I don't have any like life-changing, oh my gosh, I had this great conversation with this artist.
Right.
But it's like my parents are always like, do you not know the people in Widespread Panic yet? Are they not your friends? As many shows you've been to? I'm like, no. No, I've met a few of them, and basically I get starstruck every time I see them. We were fortunate enough to go to the last 3 Allman Brothers shows up at the Beacon. And, wow, you know, waiting for autographs, got to speak to Greg Allman for a short moment, that was pretty cool. And another time I got backstage with at a VIP meet and greet for Rush, and that was for me, because that was like my favorite band, my first favorite band, because my brother got me into that in high school. And same thing, I went with a friend, and he was just like, you barely talked. And I was like, I know, what was I supposed to say? I love your music. So yeah, So I don't have great stories, but you know, it's always fun to see people, but it's like they're normal people, and I don't know, I don't feel like I want to bother them when I do
Yeah.
see them.
Well, I feel like your stories are with your customers that are fans of your brand. You've probably met so many interesting people and probably seen those people multiple times at shows, and they support your brand, right? They support your
Oh,
merchandise.
absolutely. And I am terrible with names and faces. And everyone's like, remember me? And I'm like, yeah, you bought a t-shirt, right? I mean, that's all I got.
Well, anytime someone's saying remember me at a show, that's always tough too, depending on what shows you're at.
Oh my gosh. And then just, you know, imagine how many people you meet over a weekend, much less over and over.
Right, right. So where can one people find the merchandise to purchase and more about Drifter Fest as well?
Okay, well, our website is driftermerch.com. That's the best place to find us. We're on Etsy and Amazon as well, but Drifter Merch has the best designs, pricing, and everything there. So I would send everyone there. And I also want to mention that one other thing that we do is custom orders. So we do a lot of stuff for businesses, some bands, and schools, camps, that kind of thing. So if anybody needs that type of stuff, we can definitely help you out on that. And then for Drifter Fest, it's pretty easy. It's drifterfest.com. And you get tickets there, and you can find out all information. We have a hotel block, all that stuff.
Awesome. Well, Lori, it's been a pleasure, and can't wait to promote your brand because you have so much cool stuff and a lot of great design, and everyone should check out your stuff, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me on today.
Bye-bye.
Bye.